Hare Krishna, Gauranga. So I wanted to do another 30 key verses of the Bhagavad-Gita class. This one is Bhagavad-Gita 2.14. All the first three are together, 2.12, 13, 14. So, nice grouping of really powerful verses there at the start of the Bhagavad-Gita. This one I was thinking was very relevant at this current time because yesterday I kind of got the impetus to quickly get it together and do this class. I was out in the city centre just doing a bit of shopping, and I was looking around at all the people wearing these face masks, and they're doing their groceries, they're buying clothes, they're getting movies, and they're whatever it is, they're getting food in the or coffee or something in the Costa or the Nero or whatever, and they're all wearing masks like something out of a disaster movie, 2012 or some nuclear fallout or something, and people will ask one day, how did the Hare Krishnas act during this time? What is our standpoint, what is our viewpoint or behaviour towards enduring these kind of things? And we can only simply tolerate. For us, a lot of the things that go on in the material world are an inconvenience because there's things going on around us that are not Krishna conscious, and there's things that we have to do a lot of the time that are not necessarily Krishna conscious. And of course we want to be as Krishna conscious as we can at all times. This is the ideal. A devotee should be fully fixed in that Krishna conscious mindset, that it's not even a case of trying to be, it is just a natural position, but there is different things that will pull our senses. That's the point of living in the material world, is that there's danger at every step, there's difficulty and there's obstacles in front of us, so we have to tolerate without being disturbed these different elements that create something like a barrier for us to advance. So we'll have a look at this verse and see if we can pull something out of it. Very short purport, this one, but really nice points that Srila Prabhupada makes. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Matra Sparshasta Kuntiya Satoshna Sukha Dukkada Agama Payino Nityas Tam Tatikshashva Bharata. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O sign of Bharat, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Purport. In the proper discharge of duty, one has to learn to tolerate non-permanent appearances and disappearances of happiness and distress. According to Vedic injunction, one has to take his bath early in the morning, even during the month of Magha, January, February. It is very cold at that time, but in spite of that, a man who abides by the religious principles does not hesitate to take his bath. Similarly, a woman does not hesitate to cook in the kitchen in the months of May and June, the hottest part of the summer season. One has to execute his duty in spite of climatic inconveniences. Similarly, to fight is the religious principle of the Kshatriyas, and although one has to fight with some friend or relative, one should not deviate from his prescribed duty. One has to follow the prescribed rules and regulations of religious principles in order to rise up to the platform of knowledge, because by knowledge and devotion only can one liberate himself from the clutches of Maya, illusion. The two different names of address given to Arjuna are also significant. To address him as Kunteya signifies his great blood relations from his mother's side, and to address him as Bharat signifies his greatness from his father's side. From both sides he is supposed to have a great heritage. A great heritage brings responsibility in the matter of proper discharge of duties, therefore he cannot avoid fighting. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Janananda Goswami Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namaste Saraswati Gaura Parikshami Nirvashesha Shambhala Bhasha Jadi Siddharani Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So right away the first thing here is in the proper discharge of duty. So there's a proper way to do things in life and there's an improper way. And this is one of the things that we look in Krishna consciousness is to be disciplined. And the word discipline usually has a negative connotation. People usually take discipline as being a punishment, and actually the dictionary definition states, and this is actually the state here that's been changed, which just shows you. So it says the practice of training people to obey rules or a code of behaviour using punishment to correct. So there's a really bad thing right away, you know. If we're going to view discipline as being a punishment, you know, or being some form of correction or some form of restriction, but actually discipline, one, can usually be rules or code of behaviour, you know, or a form of activity, you know. This is different martial arts disciplines or different yoga disciplines, you know. It basically means that there's a set way of doing things. It doesn't, you know, mean that you have to in any way, shape or form be being oppressed or suppressed or anything by discipline, you know. And it says actually, further on I read on Google, it says that the true meaning of discipline is to learn or to teach, and it comes from the Latin disciplina, you know. So we know, of course, that discipline coming from the word disciple. A disciple meaning someone who is disciplined to follow the spiritual master's guidance. And the teacher will teach 3 different styles of approach for discipline: preventative, supportive and corrective. So the spiritual master is doing that, you know. He's giving us different ways to prevent getting caught up in Maya, for us to be supported in Krishna consciousness, and for us to be corrected if need be. That's the sadhu, shastra and guru principles, you know. That we have all the things in place, the structure in place in Krishna consciousness. The whole ISKCON movement is structured towards living a more perfect lifestyle. So this is the thing, in proper discharge of duty, taking into account with discipline, with intelligence, with humility, with tolerance. Titikshava Krunika, Surya Sarvadehana Majata Sattva Sadhava Sadhu Bhushana, right? You know, that the symptoms of a sadhu: tolerance, humility, compassion, so on and so forth. With all those things in mind, proper discharge of duty is that we still have to tolerate non-permanent and, you know, appearances of happiness and distress. And they're non-permanent because it's material nature. They're going to keep coming and they're going to keep going. This is the point. In the spiritual world, there is no concept of suffering. There is no concept of, you know, time. There is no concept of day or night. There is no idea of, oh, I've got to get up in the morning, do the duty, do this thing. You know, everything is just flowing spontaneously. Everything is just, you know, constantly serving Krishna, constantly in that relationship with him. But this Vedic injunction is that one has to take bath early in the morning. So Prabhupada recommended, and there's several quotes where he says, there's different ones, but mostly he says be up by about 4 o'clock. The absolute last is by 4:20, you know, because we were to get up at the Brahma Muhurta, the specific and special time for chanting Hare Krishna and for practicing, you know, Vedic rites, yajna, so on and so forth, puja. Even when it's freezing cold, which it is in the UK, of course. Already now it's starting to get a bit winter-like out there. Cold weather in the morning, you've got to put the heating on. But you still have to get up and take a shower. There's, basic cleanliness has to be there, especially for devotees. This is the point that for us, we're doing everything on a higher level. It's not just, you just get up, come out of your bed and just lie around, We get up, we shower, we'll brush our teeth, shower, put on clean clothes, and we come out and we start chanting, we start offering, we start doing things, So there's a consciousness that comes out of that. That consciousness, we say cleanliness is next to godliness, right? So we're raising ourselves from the lower platform of sleeping all night to a more higher platform of spiritual cultivation. And these things help that, they all form into pushing us up. And it's one thing to mention, of course, that there's a kind of thing that would come with these sadhus and austere renunciants in India, especially at that time, in the Vedic times. There was this concept of really putting yourself in that position of austerity, where they would stand in a freezing cold river up to their neck, and they would chant their mantras and their prayers, and they would hold themselves like that for hours and hours and hours. That's one thing, that's one way. That's really, really extremely trying to look for some mercy, look for some, the attention of the Lord, to try and capture his gaze so that he will look favourably towards what they're doing, their austerities. We don't need to do that. Same with the other side was the hot summer season, being in the kitchen or being, we have to do that, but we don't have to stand with, in a big fireplace, surrounded by heat, trying to, again, put the body through some taxing trial. Our austerity in Kali Yuga is to chant the holy name. To chant 16 rounds every day is our main austerity. That's our main difficulty. With so many different programs. Even to be a brahmachari, this is one thing Andrew Prabhu hinted at. He said, we should try to chant extra rounds, and we should try to do extra Harinam, because what do we actually chant in the morning program, even at a temple? If you get up in an ashram of even of 30 people, in the manor, for example, you were still rushing in the shower. You had to either get up at 3 and shower before everyone else, or if you're from 4 o'clock onwards, you've just got a constant queue getting into the shower. You can barely get any extra rounds done. So you go Mangalarti, you sing Hare Krishna for about 5 minutes, and then Tulsi Arti, 2 minutes of Hare Krishna, and then you chant usually any of the prayers and announcements and different things will take to either about 1/4 or 1/2 depending on the size of the temple. So you'll chant rounds for about an hour and a half, maybe. You may have to go for a bathroom trip, or you might have to nip out. You have some services that you have to do some morning, maybe some kitchen services or some other things that you have to go do. So by the time you've got to Guru Puja, and by the time you've come to breakfast, you haven't really chanted Hare Krishna so much, and certainly you haven't finished all your rounds most of the time. And obviously it doesn't even begin to mention the Grihastha ashram, where you'll get up and you've got to put some water on, you've got to get some breakfast things ready, either cook something, your kid wakes up, you've got to get them ready, you've got to get your work stuff ready. Obviously we're in a pandemic now, people are working from home, luckily, but normally speaking, you'd have to be out the door by 7 o'clock to drive an hour or 2 hours to your office, and so on and so forth. So japa time's practically gone. 2 or 3 rounds, 5 at lunchtime, 4 on the way back, if you want to chant in the car, which is not the best thing to do, so on and so forth, right? So the idea is, it's disappearing like anything, the spiritual cultivation time. So that's our austerity, to chant 16 rounds. It's our austerity just to follow this process of Krishna consciousness, just to keep the mind always thinking of Krishna, never forgetting Krishna. Smartavya satatam Vishnu Vishmartavino Jatuchit. All the Vedic principles are saying, this is the highest thing, be Krishna conscious. You know? But it's so difficult, so many obstacles in the path to pure devotional service. And the idea here again was the thing that, we've got to go into the kitchen and we have to cook and it's boiling hot. And we hate it, most people, it's like, they want that fine line, what is it? Goldilocks in the Three Bears. She goes into the house, she tries the big chair, the middle chair, the small chair, she tries the 3 different beds, she tries the 3 different porridges, just trying to get it perfect. And perfect means, in the spiritual world, material world is never going to be perfect, but it can be livable, it can be good, and Krishna, because of a Krishna conscious lifestyle. So when we get this burning hot summer, we like it for a bit, but then when you're walking around in a pair of shorts in the house and you're just going, wow, this is too much, man, I'm roasted, I'm sweating, this is horrible, I'm all sticky, I'm on my second shower. We're complaining about it because we don't like it. When it's freezing cold, oh, get that heating on, this is horrible, I can't take this. Again, we're disturbed by the austerity that the material world puts us through. And you can imagine, this is speaking about India in one sense, Indian climate being out in 50 degrees heat, but people are tolerating it because they have to, they have no choice. In the UK we have a choice, we can kind of, in one sense, we can hide in our cold houses and keep out of the sun, or we have fans and all kinds of stuff in the offices, but in India, for example, or maybe some other countries where it's really, really hot, they've got to go out, and because they have no choice. Depending on what social standing they have, they may not even have any money, they've got to go out and work like anything, they'll work all day in the boiling hot sun. That's what it is, there's survival, whereas in some places, they've got to go out and work in the freezing cold, and that's what it is, we tolerate it because discharge of duty has to be done. One cannot avoid doing his duty for even a second. And even Krishna said that, he says, I'm the Supreme Person of Godhead, but I've got to perform my duty. Now, of course, his duties are different from us, but he's setting that example, because if I don't, he says, people will follow me, but they won't just follow me, they'll follow me down the wrong path. Everybody usually takes the wrong example that you set, There's a kind of thing that happens with communication where you tell someone something and it's like, it seems to just, it just seems to somehow only a little bit catches in their ear. So you might have been very clear, like, okay, listen, what I want you to do is this. I'm not saying this, even when sometimes people I like to do this myself, where you try to catch all the different scenarios so that they can't go wrong. You say, okay, I'm not telling you this, I'm not telling you that. What I'm saying is this. And the mood I'm coming from is this, so you don't get upset or get caught up in it, But still, sometimes people's minds just go, I don't get it, and they do the wrong thing. So Krishna is saying that, this is my example. I'm doing this because I don't want to lead people of Kali Yuga astray, who are always disturbed, who are always misguided, easily misguided, So we execute our duties in the climactic inconvenience, and this is one of the big inconveniences at this point in time, isn't it? This COVID pandemic has caused a completely global disruption. Every single situation of our lives has been changed. It's incredible to see now that all the buildings have had to be adapted to. Every shop you go into, they've got the little squirty things there for hand gel. You've got scanners at doors, you've got barriers, you've got pathways going through malls. You've got extra cameras, extra. I even saw one funny thing in the toilets. It was like each individual, one toilet was sellotaped off, then the second one was open, and then the other one was sellotaped off. Everything. Just a simple thing, go to the bathroom, sellotaped off. These are ridiculous things, but the point is that we're used to doing things in a routine. Even people who have so-called no routine, you just wake up at whatever time, but that's still in one sense it's a safety barrier. Oh, I just get up at 10 or 11 or 12 or whenever I wake up. Well, yeah, that's your safety, that's your thing, isn't it? That's your routine. You just kind of get up when you get up, you eat when you eat, you work when you work, you do, but that you're still following some kind of sanity program of my mind knows that something's going to happen, So for people to have the slightest little thing disturbed, oh, I'm used to going to that coffee shop, it's now closed. I'm used to going to that clothes shop, it's now only open at certain times. I'm used to buying these foods. Oh, the retailers can't get them in because of the COVID spread through all the big warehouses and distribution centres. I'm used to go to work, but my job's closed down, or it's work from home and they had limited capacity, so I've lost my job. So many, that's one example, but there's so many things, We now have to take, we kind of, for devotees it's easy, isn't it? Take 3 showers a day, or 2 showers a day for the Brahmins, But, oh my God, I have to come home from the office and take a shower, or I have to go to the shops, come back and wipe things down, It's such an inconvenience, because we're not used to doing all that. We're not used to taking such extra efforts to protect ourselves. We just normally go out, talk to people, do our thing, So this is a massive inconvenience. But what is devotees' platform? This is our platform, Matra Spashasta Kuntiya. And this is Krishna's platform, that we have to tolerate the appearance of happiness and distress. And in our spiritual lives it's also there as well. This is a thing, we're not just attached to being happy. Devotees are not aiming to be happy. And we're certainly not aiming to be distressed either, of course. But we're aiming to be equipoised no matter what happens to us. Because actually the difficulties that we get, we can rise above them. We can use them as a platform to take shelter of Krishna, and we can see them as a form of mercy. So many difficulties in life propelled others into great things. So many stories come like that, where, for example, Narada Muni put the sons of Kuvera, Nalo Kuvera and Manigriva, into the condition of being trees, but then they got to meet Krishna. And they were able to have perception of their actual demigod selves as in the tree bodies. It's not that they were just put into the ignorant form of being a tree, where they had no conception of anything. They were actually still able to remember the whole time their mistake that they made, in offending a great Vaishnava. So they were able to meet Krishna, And there's so many other situations like that where curses or different things, or difficulties have put someone in the opportunity to rise. So sometimes these seeming punishments or seeming things that go wrong in our lives are an opportunity for us to actually become Krishna conscious, to see that there's something wrong, And then, so we're not looking just for just mere fleeting happiness, bliss, or this ananda, this Krishna prema, this rasa with Krishna. These things they're not, you can't compare them. It's not even, like we say that the spiritual world and the material world is like a shadow. There's no substance to a shadow in that sense. You can't relate or enjoy with a shadow, so it's not even comparable to say that what we really achieve out of Krishna consciousness in the ultimate end. You can't even put a name to it in that sense in the material, what bits of pleasure we get here, And again, this concept here of discipline is that Srila Prabhupada is saying that thing here. Amongst all our duties, surely we must not forget to complete our 16 rounds. We should not be simply carried away by the other Krishna duties, which are as also good as chanting, but in all circumstances we shouldn't forget the duty. So yeah, we do lots of services, but rounds is the first thing, and it has to be done with keeping that in mind, that this is the most important service, this is the most important surrender, this is the most important instruction of the spiritual master, is to chant. This is the Yuga Dharma, it's the most powerful process in the sage. It is a direct relation with Krishna. It's us sitting down and talking to Krishna, being with Krishna, it's chanting, And as Prabhupada says here also in the Srimad Bhagavatam, he says, to become a bona fide devotee of the Lord is not easy in this age. You know, different quotes. You know. Yeah, again, Prabhupada says, without some difficulty, without some what's called tapasya, austerity, you know, nobody can realise transcendence. So there is a little bit of austerity in doing what we do as devotees. There's a little austerity in everybody's activities, but we have to be able to tolerate it. And remember, and of course, in the previous verse, I was saying this, Dhiras tatra namuyate, that the sober person is not bewildered, right? So again, what is that character of the sober person? Is that he is able to be equipoised in happiness and distress. He's able to see that these are just temporary arrangements that are going to pass over, just as the seasons pass over. You know, when you're in winter, you're thinking, my God, we'll never get out of this winter. And then again, the spring comes, and all the buds come out, and all the nice mellow weather, and then before you know comes the wonderful summer. And again, these cycles, you know. So we know that due to sober nature, that it will pass over. Because simply time alone is a great healer. You know, without even taking into it Krishna consciousness and our prayers and our lifestyle and our endeavours to be in better consciousness no matter what happens, it will pass over anyway. Time will heal it, and time will take it into another state. It may get worse, it may get better, depending on, we can't guarantee that. You know, we can only guarantee how we see it and how we carry ourselves. And the last two little points were saying that Arjuna is coming from a great family heritage, so he has a responsibility to carry him, to represent higher nature. And we in Krishna consciousness have a responsibility and a duty to show Krishna consciousness' pure gift to the world. We have to live now in this current time, and we have to show that we've got the higher thing. We've got the thing that everybody's looking for. We've got the answer to solve all these pandemics, that will solve all these difficulties and sufferings in the world. You know, we've got the actual highest knowledge that everybody's looking for. We've got the answers to all the questions that's troubling people. It's all there in the books. It's all there in the culture. It's all there in the practice of chanting Hare Krishna. So this is just a little something. I'll stop there and have a good day. Hare Krishna. Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.